محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم. أما بعد, our book is Al-Farq Bayna An-Naseehah wa the difference between An-Naseehah and At-Tibyān, insulting somebody and abusing him. You want to mention his fault, you want to insult him, you want to abuse him. This is your fault. You don't know Nahu, you don't know Safru, you don't know Al-Balagha. You insult him. And when he said, hey, why you say that? Say, oh, that is Naseehah, take it. Or that he makes a mistake and you want to call his attention to that mistake that he has made, so that he can correct himself and so that the rest of the people can know what is correct about the matter. You don't intend to insult him. Like Al-Imām Ibn Rajab rahimahullah said here, he says, إِذَا كَانَ الْمَقْصُودُ مِنْهُ مُجَرَّدَ الذَّمِّ إِذَا كَانَ الْمَقْصُودُ مِنْهُ مُجَرَّدَ الذَّمِّ. If the intention behind mentioning his fault is az-zamm, you just want to bring him down, dispraise. He said, rahimahullah, wal-aib. You just want to point out his faults. Wal-naqs. You just want to show that he has shortcomings. If that is the intention, then that is what At-Tibyān. But if it is Naseehah, it is with the intention of correcting that mistake, not the intention of destroying the person who made the mistake. If it is the intention of destroying the person who made the mistake, what is that? At-Tibyān. If it's the intention of correcting him, correcting the message, making him be upright, then that is what? An-Naseehah. So we came to the 8th page of our book when Al-Imām Ibn Rajab Al-Hanbali rahimahullah said, وَلَا فَرْقَ بَيْنَ الطَّعْنِ فِي رُوَاةِ حُفَّاظِ الْحَدِيثِ. There is no difference between mentioning the faults, the shortcomings of those who report hadith. There are those who report ahadith. Some of them are upright in their reports. Some of them are not upright in their reports. Some of them, the uprightness that they lack is with regards to their ability to keep the reports and report the report as they have heard it. They say this kind of a thought, يَتَعَلَّقُ بِمَاذَا بِالضَّبْطِ. It has to do with dhabt. It has to do with their ability to hear properly and then discharge properly. In between hearing and conveying what you have heard, mistakes begin to come. So these kinds of errors are connected to what they are dhabt. Sometimes the error is connected to their deen, to their personality, to their taqwa and their muru'ah, to their fear of Allah and their conduct. That is where the problem comes. Such as those reporters you find upon fisk, such as those reporters you find upon al-kadhib. Al-kadhib in the muhaddithin, amongst the scholars of hadith, al-kadhib has to do with Abu Ali. The rest of us, just leave that matter. They will solve it. I think there are connection problems here. 2 Fridays ago, the Imam was on the minbar making khutbah. The same thing happened somewhere around here. 2 Fridays ago. So I think the connection has issues. Old wires, I think. So they get tired. They begin to touch inside the tubes. So they will be causing sparks. I think that was what happened there. They have resolved it. They have turned off the meters, so there is no supply of electricity. So he said, rahimahullah, لا فرق بين الطعن في رواة حفاظ الحديث. There is no difference between mentioning those faults. This one we cannot collect hadith from him. Why? He fabricates hadith and he ascribes it to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. There are people like that, many. Like Muhammad ibn Sa'id al-Maslub. He was even killed. He was crucified. There are many of them like that. In fact, there are some of them that were well known, like Muhammad ibn Umar ibn Waqid al-Waqidi. Ibn Waqid al-Waqidi was well known. And Imam Ahmad said, Kana yurakibul asanid. You know what is tarkibul isnad? You have a report. You can't find an isnad for it. You create one for it. So all these kinds of people, when you find them in an isnad, you drop their hadith. We can't rely on their hadith. Why? Because of al-kadhib. They lie. They ascribe that lie to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and so on and so forth. All these kinds of faults that we mention about those who report ahadith, there is no difference between them. وَلَا التَّمْيِيزِ بين من تقبل روايته منهم ومن لا تقبل, between those whose reports are accepted and those whose reports are not accepted. There is no difference between all of these. وبين تبيين خطأ من أخطأ في فهم معاني الكتاب والسنة. There is no difference between mentioning the faults of a reporter of hadith, saying that he erred here, his report is inaccurate here. Oh no, he tells lies. Oh no, he has fisk. Oh no, he has this. Oh no, he forgets. Ikhwa, there are some kinds of, let me call them awham, because even thiqat have awham. But there are awham that came to thiqat so much so that they begin to mix up reports. It will not be called waham again. It will be called what? Ikhtilat. He mixed up reports. Perhaps towards the end of his life, he begins to mix up the reports. Maybe he hears the report from Abu Sa'id. He will say he heard the report from Sa'id. And perhaps there is Sa'id and Abu Sa'id. So instead of saying he heard it from Sa'id, he will say he heard it from who? Abu Sa'id. And then there's trouble. So from who did he hear it? He will be saying that later in life. Many scholars fell into this. But what their relatives will do is that once a scholar falls into ikhtilat, his relatives will prevent the scholars of hadith from coming to him. Because these kinds of things happen to many people. Some of the scholars say it even happened to Malik, rahimahullah ibn Anas, Abu Abdullah. But that they, in their own cases, their relatives will not allow you access to them. And that is usually because of old age. There are other reasons why people had ikhtilat. The point here is mentioning all these faults as reasons not to accept their ahadith. وَبَيْنَ تَبْيِينِ خَطَئِ مَنْ أَخْطَأَ فِي فَهْمِ مَعَانِي الْكِتَابِ وَالسُّنَّةِ, and explaining the error of a person who had erred in his explanation and understanding of a verse of the Quran or a hadith. وَتَأَوَّلَ شَيْئًا مِنْهَا عَلَى غَيْرِ تَأْوِيلِهِ. He explains a verse of the Quran in a manner that is inappropriate. He explains a hadith in a manner that is not appropriate. There are other evidences that show that that explanation he gave regarding that hadith is not correct. There are many like that. But so that we can proceed, because we had read this passage in the last class, I would have given us another example. Those examples make these matters become clearer. Many scholars would err in their explanation of a verse of the Quran or in their explanation of a hadith. Others amongst the scholars will say, no, you have made a mistake. this hadith does not mean what you are saying. This verse of the Quran does not mean what you are saying. They will now give an evidence to show that what they are saying is what is correct. There is no difference between mentioning the faults of those reporters of hadith, because that was done for wide necessary benefits of the ummah. The same thing when we correct the mistake of a learned person. Why are we correcting him? We want to protect the religion. The way we want to preserve the religion by mentioning the faults of those who report hadith. The same thing we want to do by mentioning the faults of those who err in their understanding and in their explanation of a verse of the Quran or a hadith of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So he says, وَلَا فَرْقَ بَيْنَ الطَّعْنِ فِي رُوَاةِ حُفَاظِ الْحَدِيثِ وَلَا تَمْيِيزْ بَيْنَ مَنْ تُقْبَلُ رِوَايَتُهُ مِنْهُمْ وَمَنْ لَا تُقْبَلُ وبين تبيين خطأ من أخطأ في فهم معاني الكتاب والسنة وتأول شيئا منها على غير تأويله. He gives an explanation different from the correct explanations. وتمسك بما لا يتمسك به. He went on to stick to something that he should not stick to in that explanation of the Quran or in that explanation of the hadith. لِيُحَذَّرَ مِنَ الْإِقْتِدَاءِ بِهِ, so that we can warn people not to follow that his mistake. فِيمَا أَخْطَأَ فِيهِ. And that's a mistake. We want to warn the people that they should not follow him in that mistake. Ibn Rajab said, rahimahullah, وَقَدْ أَجْمَعَ الْعُلَمَاءُ عَلَى جَوَازِ ذَلِكَ أَيْضًا. The scholars are all agreed that pointing out that mistake of a learned person when he errs in a verse of the Quran or regarding a hadith, saying that this thing is a mistake, so that people should not follow the mistake of a scholar. They say that ajma'a al-ulama'u ala jawazi dhalika ayda. The scholars are agreed that that is also permissible. So when you say a scholar erred, this is a mistake, this is the correct thing, you just say, a whole big scholar, you can say, heck, yes, it's a mistake. This is the evidence that he has erred, and this is the evidence that this is the correct view. We can do that, and that does not form from the aspects of at-ta'yir. Neither does it form from the aspects of what? Al-ghiba. Why? Because it was done nasihatan lidinillahi wa li'ammatil muslimin. Because the intention behind pointing out that mistake is that we are giving sincere advice. We don't want the people to follow the error of a learned person. There are a lot of examples, ikhwa, in the books of hadith and in the verses of the Quran regarding things like this. A learned person will explain a hadith, another person will say, no, that hadith, that explanation is wrong. A learned person will explain a verse of the Quran. The others will say, no, that explanation is wrong. This is the reason why it is wrong. Whether from an evidence from that same hadith, or from another evidence from another hadith, or from another evidence from a verse of the Quran that shows that no, that interpretation is wrong. I hope that this is clear, so that we can relax and we can proceed. Let me give us an example. It just Shaykh Muhammad ibn Salih al-Uthaymin rahimahullah, he has an explanation of a well-known hadith that we know. That hadith of Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, hadith al-Sadiq al-Masduq. When towards the end of that hadith, what did the Prophet say alayhi salatu wasalam? He says, وَإِنَّ أَحَدَكُمْ لَا يَعْمَلُ بِعَمَلِ أَهْلِ الْجَنَّةِ حَتَّى مَا يَكُونُ بَيْنَهُ وَبَيْنَهَا إِلَّا مَاذَا الذِّرَاعُ فَيَسْبِقُ عَلَيْهِ الْكِتَابُ فَيَعْمَلُ بِعَمَلِ أَهْلِ النَّارِ فَيَدْخُلُهَا. He said, rahimahullah, this hadith means, إِنَّ أَحَدَكُمْ لَا يَعْمَلُ بِعَمَلِ أَهْلِ الْجَنَّةِ. One of you will be doing the deeds of the people of Al-Jannah. All his actions are actions by which Allah takes somebody into Al-Jannah. Hatta Get this point. He is doing the deeds of Al-Jannah. So much so that the only thing that is left between him and Al-Jannah is just one zira, one arm's length. فَيَسْبِقُ عَلَيْهِ الْكِتَابِ. Then the book, what had been written down, overtakes him. فَيَعْمَلُ بِعَمَلِ أَهْلِ النَّارِ فَيَدْخُلُهَا. Then he begins to act, doing the deeds of the people of the fire. Then he enters the fire. Shaykh Muhammad ibn Salih al-Uthaymeen, you can go and check his sharh on Al-Arba'in. You can go and check his sharh on Riyadh al-Salihin. He says, يَعْمَلُ بِعَمَلِ أَهْلِ الْجَنَّةِ فِي مَا يَبْدُو لِلنَّاسِ. The deed that he was doing from the people of Al-Jannah, it is the people who think like that. That deed is not the deed of people of Al-Jannah. When I was far younger than this, I used to say that this interpretation is not correct. What is it that shows that it is not correct? What shows that it's not correct is that in that hadith itself, it says, حَتَّى مَا يَكُونُ بَيْنَهُ وَبَيْنَهَا إِلَّا ذِرَى. It means that deed was bringing him closer to Al-Jannah. If the deed in its real sense is not from the deed of Al-Jannah, it will not bring him close to Al-Jannah. To such an extent that it will remain just an arm's length for him to enter Al-Jannah. And then the Prophet called it, alayhi salatu wasalam, يَعْمَلُ عَمَلَ أَهْلِ الْجَنَّةِ. So if it does not have ikhlas, it will not be amalu ahli al-jannah that can bring him close to al-jannah. So it is beyond, that is how people see it. No. It is actually a deed of al-jannah. He had ikhlas. He had mutaba'ah. Allah was accepting it and he was coming close to al-jannah. So when in classes our brothers give this explanation, I used to feel uncomfortable about it. Until we started looking wider into the books of Sunnah. And then I saw Al-Hafiz ibn Hajar in Fathul Bari saying that some scholars explain it like this, and this explanation is wrong. Rahimahullah. I started saying Alhamdulillah. But I could not say it at the beginning. Why? They will say that Shaykh Ibn Uthaymeen said something, you are saying something else. So I was keeping quiet. Until I saw Ibn Hajar saying it. That there are some of the scholars who explain that hadith like that. But that hadith explained like that is an error. That this one has to do with that the fact that al-a'mal bikhawatimiha. It is not about fima yabdu linnas. It is about the fact that good deeds or bad deeds, the most important one is that which one do you end with? And that also has a hadith by itself. But that someone is doing something insincerely or is just showing it to the people, it appears to the people as if it is from the deeds of the people of Jannah. He said that is a different thing altogether. But this hadith, what it means is that his deeds were good. He was sincere. He was actually coming close to Al-Jannah with those good deeds. It's not just that it was people, it were the people looking at it, thinking that it was from the deeds of Al-Jannah. The point here is that an alim, a learned person from the scholars of Sunnah, can explain a hadith. And there will be evidence to show that his explanation is wrong. A learned person can explain a verse of the Quran. And there will be evidences to show that his explanation is wrong. Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah, he has a book in 2 big volumes. He called it Tafsiru Ayat al-Quran, the explanation of verses of the Quran that the scholars of tafsir have istishkal regarding them. They have ishkalat, they have some ambiguities regarding the meaning of those verses. In 2 big volumes, he came to explain them. He will say, they said this, but what they have said here is not correct because of so thing, because of so thing. This is the correct meaning. And he will explain the correct. Al-Imam Ibn al-Jawzi did that a lot in Zadul Masir, rahimahullah. He will mention a verse, he says some people they explain this verse like this, but this verse does not mean this. This is the meaning of the verse. So that they are doing this, they are doing it nasihatan linnas. Nasihatan lidinillah, out of sincere advice for the people, so that the people do not conceive the verse or conceive of the hadith upon a mistake. They want to correct the people. They don't intend to insult those other scholars who had done it. No, that was not the intention. So the intention there is what? An-Naseehah, and not what? At-Tibyān. I hope that this is clear. Ibn Rajab said, rahimahullah, وَلِهَذَا, because of this understanding, that أَجْمَعُ الْعُلَمَاءُ عَلَى جَوَازِ ذَلِكَ, that the scholars are agreed that when a learned person makes a mistake regarding a verse, or he makes a mistake regarding a hadith, in fact the hadith can be da'if, he will be acting upon it and giving rulings on it. Another learned person will say, no, this hadith you are acting upon, the hadith is weak. See how their hadith is weak. Why is it weak? These are the evidences, these are the evidences, these are the evidences. They start explaining. But what would have happened is that that hadith got to him with an isnad that is da'if. He does not know that there is another isnad for that hadith that is sahih. So he considers it da'if when it is actually having another isnad that is sahih. This has happened between we and some of the brothers regarding Salatul Tasbih. The asanid that many of the brothers, many of the scholars spoke about are weak. Like Shaykh Muhammad ibn Salih al-Uthaymin. The hadith, the isnad he depended on was the isnad of Al-Imam At-Tirmidhi in his Sunan. That isnad is weak. The isnad that is sahih is that of Al-Imam Abu Dawud in his Sunan. The riwayah of Ikrimah and Ibn Abbas and Abbas. That is the isnad that is sahih. So these kinds of things happens amongst the scholars. So someone else will look at this and say, no, it has another isnad. And that isnad is sahih. And then he mentions it, and. There are many examples, ikhwah, on this alone. So what they intend is not ta'yir. What do they intend? An-Naseehah. So he says, وَلِهَذَا نجد في كتبهم المصنفة في أنواع العلوم الشرعية من التفسير وشروح الحديث والفقه واختلاف العلماء وغير ذلك ممتلئة من المناظرات ورد أقوال من تضعف أقواله من أئمة السلف والخلف من الصحابة والتابعين ومن بعدهم. Because of all of what we have explained, نجد في كتبهم المصنفة, you will find in the books that the scholars have compiled, في أنواع العلوم الشرعية, the books they have compiled in the various branches, aspects of the sciences of the religion, من التفسير, whether it is the issues regarding explaining the verses of the Quran, وشروح الحديث, maybe it's about explaining a hadith of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, والفقه, or issues on how do we make wudu. Is it compulsory for me to say Bismillah at the beginning of wudu or not? The scholars have differed. In fact, some say if I don't say Bismillah, I don't have wudu. Some say if I say Bismillah, if I don't say Bismillah, I have wudu. But I have committed a sin if I don't say Bismillah at the beginning of that wudu. All these kinds of statements. You see one learned person, we give a correction. No, the hadith is sahih. The hadith of Abu Huraira radiyallahu anhu. The hadith of Jabir ibn Abdullah al-Ansari radiyallahu anhu in Sahih Muslim. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, Tawadda'u bismillah. Alayhi salatu wasalam. He told the people, make wudu, say Bismillah. And then the hadith of Abu Huraira radiyallahu anhu. But others will say, no, I may not say Bismillah at the beginning. So you see all these kinds of statements, they are made in error until someone else brings another evidence to say, no, that one is a mistake. It is this one that is correct. When he says that it is this one that is correct, he now brings evidence. What he is doing is An-Naseehah. It is not what? At-Tibyān. So he says, وَلِهَذَا نَجِدُ فِي كُتُبِهِمُ الْمُصَنَّفَةِ فِي أَنْوَاءِ الْعُلُومِ الشَّرْعِيَّةِ. That is why you find in the books that the scholars have authored, the various branches of the sciences of the religion, min at-tafsir, whether it has to do with at-tafsir, wa shuruh al-hadith, and the various explanations of ahadith, wal fiqh, and the books of fiqh, wa ikhtilaf al-ulama. There are books regarding ikhtilaf al-ulama, how scholars have differed, like that by Imam Ibn Abdul Barr al-Istidhkar. He's just mentioning what scholars have said regarding every matter in the various cities of the Muslim world. In Misra, what did they say? In Baghdad, what did they say? In Iraq, what did they say? In Asfahan, what did they say? In Medina, what did they say? In Makkah, what did they say? He compiled all of that in a single book. Al-Imam Ibn Abdul Barri al-Namri, Al-Istidhkar. It occurs in 25 volumes. Kutubul Ikhtilaf. Al-Imam al-Bayhaqi also did that. We want to know what is it that they have said before now. So some scholars have that view too. Yes, some scholars have the view. Were they right or wrong in that view? It's another issue. So you see all of these وَاخْتِلَافِ الْعُلَمَاءِ وَغَيْرِ ذَلِكِ, and other books regarding other matters, مُمْتَلِئَةً مِنَ الْمُنَاظَرَاتِ. You will see all this book, تَجِدُ فِي كُتُبِهِمْ. You find in their books that these books are full of munadharat. Someone says this matter is like this, the other one says no, it is not like that, it is like this. Someone says it is like that, and say no, you have made a mistake, it is like this. Someone else comes and say yes, even you are right here, but you are wrong here. In each of them, evidences will be provided to show that this is a mistake, this is the correct thing, this is a mistake, this is the correct thing. In all of that, nobody intended to insult the next person. Nobody intended to bring the next person down. Nobody was intending abuse. What were they intending? An-Naseehah. Let us know which one is the truth. And the Quran has told us that we will have these kinds of differences. That's why He told us, فَرُدُّوهُ إِلَى اللَّهِ وَالرَّسُولِ. When you are differed, refer your differences to Allah and His Messenger. So each person will come, he will look at the hadith, he will look at the verse, and say, hey, this statement is wrong. This is the correct view. These are the reasons why I say that this is the correct view. He begins to bring out reasons. In his own reasons too, people say, no, you have interpreted this one like this, it is wrong. So that's why you begin to find out, ikhwa, that knowledge as far as our religion is concerned is so wide. Wallahi, knowledge is wide. Wallahi, knowledge is wide. Wallahi, knowledge is wide, ikhwa. It is this understanding that will humble you. It will make you be humble. It will not make you be able to say you want to say about everything every time some things. My brother, it's not like that. It's not like that. So they say, rahimahumullah, نجد في كتبهم المصنفة في أنواع العلوم الشرعية من التفسير وشروح الحديث والفقه واختلاف العلماء وغير ذلك ممتلئة من المناظرات. You see, the books are full of discussions, conversations, munadharat. You see, the books are full of conversations. Some scholars say this, but it is wrong. This is the correct thing. Pick any book of fiqh that is from the basic books of fiqh. You go to the madhab of Al-Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal. Pick Al-Mughni by Al-Imam ibn Qudama. He will say some scholars say this, some scholars say this, but it is wrong. This is the correct view. Pick Al-Majmu' by Al-Imam Al-Nawawi. Sharh Al-Muhadhab. He will bring opinions. He says some scholars say this, some scholars say this, but it is wrong. This is the evidence. This is the evidence. Pick Al-Mabsut by Imām Al-Sarkhasi. It is the book of fiqh in the madhab of Al-Imam Abi Hanifa. Likewise, he will be quoting statements and saying that this one is wrong, this one is wrong, this one is wrong. Or At-Tamheed by Imam Ibn Abdul Barri Al-Maliki. He was from the scholars of Malikiyah. They will quote statement, they say this one has a problem, this is correct one, this one is correct. Al-Imam Qadi Abdul-Wahhab Al-Maliki was from the scholars of the madhab of Al-Imam Malik. He has a book, Al-Ishraf ala Nukati Masail al-Khilaf. Al-Ishraf, going round. He is in his own work. He goes round the madhab. The madhab of Al-Imam Ahmad, madhab of Al-Imam Shafi. Al-Majmu' that we mentioned by Al-Imam Al-Nawawi is about the madhab of Al-Imam Shafi. Sharh al-Muhadhab. Al-Muhadhab was written by Abu Ishaq al-Shirazi. So he mentions the views in the madhab of Al-Imam Shafi. As for Qadi Abdul Wahhab, he went to all the madhahib. He wants to tell you who and who agree on what, and who disagreed, and what are those views that all of them have agreed on. Who and who agreed on this? Who and who disagreed on this? And what are those masail that all of them agreed on? So he called it al-ishraf, going around, checking around, bringing them together like supervisory work. Ala nukati masail al-khilaf. He is doing that regarding the major issues about which the scholars have differed. He has that in 8 volumes, 8 big volumes. So these things have always been there amongst the scholars. All of these, they were doing it nasihatan lil ummah, giving us advice. All these kinds of works, when students go near them, they will not be doing gra-gra. It will make you be calming down. So their books are full of these kinds of munadharat. وَرَدِّ أَقْوَالِ مَنْ تَضَعَّفَ أَقْوَالُهُ. And you'll be seeing them correcting man تَضَعَّفَ أَقْوَالُهُ. The one that his own views are weak, they will correct him. Say this one is a weak view. وَهَذَا قَوْلٌ ضَعِيفٌ. Or if you go to the madhab of our Imam Abu Muhammad Al-Gharnati Ibn Hazmin rahimahullah in Al-Muhalla, he will be bringing the opinions. In fact, he was tougher rahimahullah. Ibn Hazmin, some scholars say the sword of Hajjaj bin Yusuf and the pen of Ibn Hazmin, which one is sharper? Because Ibn Hazmin will be saying, making some statements, we'll refer to him when we come down here. He will say, those who have this kind of opinion, did they not read very well? Did they not think very well? He has those kind of statements when he refutes scholars. He was criticized for that too. He was criticized for those excess statements. He was not criticized for correcting the views when the scholars were wrong. These are two different things. The excess statements are the part of the ta'ir inside his Naseehah. So inside that his Naseehah, the ta'ir that is inside, what did they do? They remove it. Rahimahumullah, because ikhwah, ta'ir, Naseehah, you can start with the intention of Naseehah when you start talking, when you start advising, when you start correcting people's mistakes. Wallahi, shaitan will make you end up on ta'ir. You started with Naseehah, you did not intend ta'ir. But before you end that thing, ta'ir will start. As for the scholars, they will take your Naseehah and they will throw away your ta'ir. They will take your Naseehah and do what? Throw away the ta'ir. So we find in these books رَدِّ أَقْوَالِ مَنْ تَضَعَفَ أَقْوَالُهُ. The scholars will be correcting those views by those persons whose views were weak. Like when I mentioned the hadith that إِنَّ أَحَدَكُمْ لَا يَعْمَلُ بِعَمَلِ أَهْلِ النَّارِ أو لَا يَعْمَلُ بِعَمَلِ أَهْلِ الْجَنَّةِ. Ibn Hajar rahimahullah says some people explain this hadith like this, but their explanation is what? Wrong. You will see them correcting it. This one is wrong. This one is right. This one is wrong. This one is right. They will be correcting it. Min a'immati salafi wal khalaf. Those will be done by the scholars of the people amongst the salaf, and those who came later, al-khalaf. You see them correcting all those kinds of mistakes. They say, this is a mistake, correct it. This one is a mistake, correct it. This is the evidence that this thing is a mistake. And this is the evidence that this is the correct thing to do. They will be correct. And Imam Shafi'i rahimahullah in Al-Umm, he has a view rahimahullah about a hadith. And that explanation is wrong. Rahimahullah. He has a view that if you come to the masjid, to the musalla on the day of Eid, what do? Do you start with 2 units of prayer or you sit down? What do you do? What do you do? You sit down, al-sahih. Sitting down is the correct view. But he was explaining that same hadith of Ibn Abbas and Abdullah ibn Umar radiyallahu anhuma. And he was saying that the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Ibn Abbas said, I observe Salatul Eid with the Prophet, whether Eid al-Fitr or Eid al-Kabir, Eid al-Adha. When he came to the Musalla, all that he did was he started the Salat without making walam yatanaffal bi shay'in qablaha wala ba'daha. He did not make nawafil in any way before the Salat or after the Salat. Shaykh said rahimahullah that is because he is the Imam. That is because he is the Imam. If the Imam comes, he's not making nafilah. He just comes, he starts the salah and goes. He said Ibn Abbas said that because the Prophet was the Imam. Others amongst the ulama say no. Ibn Abbas radiyallahu anhu was there. And Ibn Abbas, when he saw people standing up to observe nafilah before Salatul Eid, he used to stop them from doing that. وَالرَّاوِي أَدْرَى بِمَا رَوَى. He is the one who reported the hadith. He understands the hadith more than Shafi'i. Rahimahullah. He was there. He saw it. So he knew what it means. So when Al-Imam Shafi'i rahimahullah said no, that is regarding the Imam, we say no. Ibn Abbas, who reported the hadith himself, has a view that it is not about the Imam alone. It is about the Imam and everybody. Ibn Abbas was there. Okay, not Ibn Abbas alone. Ibn Umar too was there. He too said the same thing. He too, when he saw people standing up on the day of Eid to make 2 units of prayer, Ibn Umar too used to stop there, sit down, there is no nafilah. So the opinion and the understanding of Ibn Abbas and Ibn Umar is better for us. They were the ones who reported the hadith. They understood what they report. They acted by it. We will not take all of these and then throw them aside and pick the opinion of Al-Imam Shafi'i, who came 150 years thereafter. The point here is a very, very learned person can pick a hadith and he will explain the hadith, and there will be evidences from other hadiths or from that same hadith to show that he had made a mistake. After Shafi'i rahimahullah, scholars came to explain that view of Al-Imam Shafi'i was wrong. When they were doing it, were they insulting Imam Shafi'i? Is that ta'yir? That's not ta'yir. What is that? An-Naseehah. It is An-Naseehah. So they would come. وَرَدِّ أَقْوَالِ مَنْ تَضَعَفَ أَقْوَالُهُ مِنْ أَئِمَّةِ السَّلَفِ وَالْخَلَفِ. You see their books of knowledge in Islam are filled up with things like this. A lot of masail ikhwa. If it were examples, we'll be giving examples. that what? Whenever scholars find a mistake in an understanding and explanation of a verse by another scholar, they call the attention to that mistake. And when they were doing that, the intention is An-Naseehah. The intention is not what? At-Tibyān. Ta'yir is insult and abuse. An-Naseehah is to give sincere advice and protect the religion of Allah from that error. So he says their books are filled up min al-munadharat, with discussions left and right. وَرَدِّ أَقْوَالِ مَنْ تَضَعَفَ أَقْوَالُهُ مِنْ أَئِمَّةِ السَّلَفِ وَالْخَلَفِ. And then correcting the views of those whose views are weak by the scholars who came earlier and those who came later. مِنَ الصَّحَابَةِ وَالتَّابِعِينَ, amongst the Sahaba and the Tabi'in, وَمَنْ بَعْدَهُمْ, and those who came after them. Each of them paid attention to something. What was that? They corrected the error of a person who had an error. They corrected the error of a person who did what? Who had an error. There is the hadith of Abu Sa'id al-Khudri and Abdullah ibn Abbas about riba An-Naseehah. About a mas'ala on riba. Ibn Abbas used to have a view. Abu Sa'id say, hey, this your view? I have heard the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam saying that it is wrong. Stop it. Even amongst the companions, they say, this your view is weak. I have an evidence. The evidence, the Prophet said so, is wrong. A companion died. Al-Imām al-Bayhaqi reported this, rahimahullah, in As-Sunan al-Kubra. A companion died, and the Salatul Janazah was observed on him. Later on, he was brought into the masjid for the wives of the Prophet radiyallahu anhunna to make Salatul Janazah on him inside the masjid. So some of the people began to say, bid'ah, bid'ah, bid'ah. Wives of the Prophet, bid'ah. How are you praying Salatul Janazah inside the masjid? Aisha was there, radiyallahu anha. You know her, ba? She said, radiyallahu anha, after the salat, she said, how many a time do people refer to something as bid'ah because they don't have the knowledge about it? Radiyallahu anha. Were you not here when Uthman ibn Mas'ud died? Where did the Prophet pray Salatul Janazah on him? Was he not in the masjid? So why are you complaining? What did she do? She corrected the error of those who were making that statement using another evidence to say, no, this is the correct thing. What you are saying is what? Is wrong. Nobody came to say, oh, Aisha is making ta'ir. What she has done is what? An-Naseehah. There are many examples. Abdullah ibn Umar radiyallahu anhuma and Umar radiyallahu anhu, and I think Abu Huraira radiyallahu anhu and Abu Sa'id al-Khudri, they were always saying that the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said that innal mayyita yu'adhabu fil qabri bi buka'i ahlihi alayhi. Al-mayyitu yu'adhabu fil qabri bi buka'i ahlihi alayhi. If a person dies, that person will be punished in the grave. Why? Because his family, they are crying and wailing and beating their cheek over him. So why was that like that? Arabs, they were like Yorubas in this. Before Islam, it was a thing of honor if you die and your children are crying over you. In fact, during Jahiliyyah, they would tell their children, make sure you cry over me very well if I die. In fact, you should employ people who know how to cry very well, so that people will know that you have a good father, or people will know that you have a good mother. Sit down properly. How old are you? Sit down properly, come. So they will employ people who come and cry for us. So they have professional criers too. You know, in Yoruba land, the woman will be laughing when she left her house. So when she near the place where the president will just fall down, they will be rolling on the ground. Arabs used to do that too. We have a lot of things in our culture similar to the culture of the Arabs. A lot. One of them is this An-Naseehah. So the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in a hadith reported by Umar ibn al-Khattab, reported by Abdullah ibn Umar, Abu Sa'id, Abu Huraira and others, they say that innal mayyit, when your dead person dies and gets into the grave, la yu'azzabu, he will certainly be punished because you are crying. Why? The ulama say because he is supposed to teach you that Islam prohibits an-niyaha. So if he does not teach you, he does not guide you to make you know that you should not do that, then you'll be punished. He will be punished for what? For not teaching you that it is wrong to make what? An-niyaha. Ikhwa, no teach, all of us. Teach your children from now. If I die, don't cry. Don't start hitting yourself on the ground. Tears can flow from your eyes, and this is from Ar-Rahmako. But jumping, hitting yourself on the ground, tearing your clothes, oh, don't do that. That is mamnur. It's wrong, it's prohibited. So Abdullah ibn Umar radiyallahu anhuma and those we have mentioned, they used to say this hadith. When our mother Aisha radiyallahu anha heard it, she said, no. A person cannot be punished. You want to eat all of us here. A person cannot be punished in the grave. That was what the Prophet said to alayhi salatu wasalam. A person cannot be punished in the grave for that. Because Allah said, وَلَا تَزِرُ وَازِرَةٌ وِزْرَ أُخْرَى. So why is it that some people will be the ones crying? It is another person who will be punished. Radiyallahu anha. Others began to say to her, that verse does not contradict this hadith from Umar radiyallahu anhu. How not? Because it had told us that the parent had a duty to teach the children. So the reason he is being punished is for that laxity of not exposing the children to ad-deen. He has a laxity. What is the laxity? He did not teach his children to not cry and wail and try their clothes, slapping their faces. He did not teach them. So when they get to the grave, they will be punished. What is the point here? The point here is that even since the time of the companions, radiyallahu anhum, and those who came after them amongst the ulama, whenever someone makes a statement, whenever someone explains a verse, whenever someone explains a hadith, the other person will say, no, this explanation is wrong. This is the correct one. And it is not considered as what? At-Tayyib. Rather, it is what? An-Naseehah. So if today, one doctor says, this thing is like this, and some others amongst the people say, no, what doctor has said is not like that. Why? This is the reason why it cannot be what doctor said, or what Shaykh said, or what Ustad said. It cannot be like that for the following reasons, like this. Reason 1, reason 2, reason 3. Someone comes and says, no, it is permissible for women to travel for Hajj without their mahram, as long as they are in a jama'atul musafirin. They are in a gathering, they are in a group, so they can travel without mahram. Then they tell you, they bring a hadith that in the time of Uthman bin Affan, this hadith is in Bukhari, and also in the time of Muawiyah bin Abi Sufyan, the hadith is also in Bukhari, that some of the wives of the Prophet were going for Hajj with the generality of the people. The scholars say, yes, truly, they went for Hajj. But this position is wrong for the following reasons. Reason number 1, the wives of the Prophet are not like other women. Allah told us in the Quran that وَأَزْوَاجُهُ أُمَّهَاتُهُ. The wives of the Prophet are the mothers of the people of Iman. So we can count the rest of the people of Iman as the children of the wives of the Prophet. So you cannot take the same ruling to say, oh, the wives of the Prophet traveled. That is the reason why other women too can travel. Why? The wives of the Prophet are different from the rest of us. The wives of the Prophet are our ummahat. They are our mothers. Point 1. Point 2 is that this athar, the best of it is that it is mawquf. What does it mean, mawquf? It stops with Muawiyah and Uthman bin Affan. وَلَا يُعَارَضُ الْمَرْفُوعُ بِالْمَوْقُوفِ. And it is not lawful to contradict something that has come from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam using something that has come from the companions. Why? The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the one who came with the Sharia, and is the one who never makes a mistake. So if you say Usman in his time, Muawiyah in his time, but the Prophet said sallallahu alaihi wasallam that لا يحجن امرأة إلا ومعها ذو محرمها. No woman should travel except that she has a mahram with her. So don't contradict the statement of the Prophet with an action from a companion or from two companions. Radiyallahu anhu. The third thing the scholars say about that view is that you cannot say that the maharim of the wives of the Prophet were not present. How many a time would you find Aisha and you find Muhammad ibn Abu Bakr Siddiq with her, and you find Abdullah ibn Muhammad or Abdullah ibn Abdur-Rahman ibn Abi Bakr Siddiq, or you find Al-Qasim ibn Muhammad ibn Abu Bakr Siddiq? You always find them with their brothers, with their niece, with their nephew who are their maharim. So that they were not mentioned does not mean that they were not with them on that journey. So which view should we take? That they can travel alone, or that they cannot travel alone, and that they can travel in a jama'ah, or that even in jama'ah they cannot travel in jama'ah as they cannot travel with the people? The point is, since the history of Islam, some people will always bring a view, and there will be another view will be stronger than it. They'll say for the following reasons. Reason 1, these people are the wives of the Prophet. Reason 2, this hadith is mawquf, and it is wrong to bring a mawquf to contradict a marfu. Reason number 3, you can't say that the maharim were not there. Why? Their maharim are always with them. So when Aisha was traveling, no male from all the males on that household travel for Hajj. They are not like that. They don't live like that. So that they were not mentioned does not mean that they were not in that group together with Ummahatil Mu'mineen. The point is that since the history of Islam, a learned person will bring a view, and others amongst the learned person will say this view is incorrect. Why? For so reason, for so reason, for so. So many issues, ikhwa. Can a woman drive a car? Some of the scholars say no, she should not drive a car like Shaykh Abdulaziz ibn Baz. Like, in fact, Shaykh Abdul Muhsin al-Abbad, Hafizahullah, he wrote an entire book on it, that it is not lawful for a woman to drive. Why? If a woman is driving, it will encourage her to go out to many places. She can tell her husband, I'm going to place A, but she will end up going to place A and B. She will go to B without taking permission. And this one happens a lot. He also said if a woman is driving, some things can spoil in the car. She will need the assistance of men. It will make her to be making ikhtilat. He gave many reasons, about 9 of them. And Imam Al-Albani said, rahimahullah, all these reasons you are giving, there are ahadith that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that the best of women are nisa'u Quraysh, allati rakibna al-ibl. The best of women are the women of the Quraysh. One of the reasons why they are best is that they used to ride on top of a camel. He said, rahimahullah, to ride a car is easier than to ride a camel. If the women who ride camel are praised for riding camel, then women should be praised for driving a car. In fact, camel will expose them, car will cover them. Ikhwa, there are a lot of issues in our religion. The scholars have always been like that. But don't forget, in all of that, they are making An-Naseehah. They are not making what? At-Ta'ir. They are making An-Naseehah. They are not making At-Ta'ir. So when they discuss, they will be bringing evidences for or against the view that they hold. I believe that a woman can drive a car. And I believe that all things being equal, a woman who drives a car is better than the woman who is not driving a car. Because the Prophet used it to, alayhi salatu wasalam, as an index of khairiyah, as a point to show that some people are better. And the reason why they are better, one of them is because of what? They can ride a camel. So all other things being equal, a woman who can drive a car is in a better position than a woman who cannot drive a car. The Prophet said so, alayhi salatu wasalam. More so, the camels yesterday, and then the cars today. The cars are in the place of the camels yesterday. So when Al-Imam Al-Albani rahimahullah said this, was he intending to insult Shaykh Ibn Baz? Was he intending to insult Shaykh Abdul Muhsin Al-Abbad? What was he intending? An-Naseehah, not what? At-Ta'yir. There are a lot of issues. Our religion is full with things like this. Ibn Rajab said, rahimahullah, go back to your books. He said, rahimahullah, وَلَمْ يَتْرُكْ ذَلِكَ أَحَدٌ مِّنْ أَهْلِ الْعِلْمِ. There is no one amongst the people of knowledge who left correcting people's mistake. If you are a learned person, you see the mistake of another learned person. This is a mistake, and you correct it. Some of our learned people said, here around us here, that Salatul Duha is not a sunnah that you can be continuing upon. We say, there is hadith. We brought the hadith where the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said in the hadith of Abu Huraira, says, "La yuwazibu alayha illa man awwabin." No one will continue to be observing Salatul Tasbih, Salatul Duha. No one will continue upon it except al-awwabun, those who regularly repent to Allah. That is evidence that a person can be regularly performing Salatul Duha. There's no time. One scholar will say something, another one will say, I know what you have said is wrong. This is the hadith, that is the evidence. And it is Naseehah. It is not at-ta'yir. It is not insult and abuse. The problem with us in our own time is that instead of making Naseehah, we are making at-ta'yir. We are making ghibah. They will not even address the issue before they start abusing the one who spoke. They will not address the issue. In all of the examples we have given from the scholars now, you see they will always address the point. One will say it is like this, and say no, it cannot be like this because of this, because of this, because of this. In our own time, they will start abusing him. They will start saying something, they start, all of what they are saying is from the aspects of what? At-Ta'yir. It is not from the aspects of what? An-Naseehah. So Ibn Rajab said, rahimahullah, وَلَمْ يَتْرُكِ ذَلِكَ لَمْ يَتْرُكْ ذَلِكَ أَحَدٌ مِّنْ أَهْلِ الْعِلْمِ. There is no one amongst the scholars who stopped that kind of a thing. وَلَدَّعَ فِيهِ طَعْنًا عَلَى مَا رَدَّ عَلَيْهِ قَوْلَهُ. And nobody said that that is the one who refuted the other person is insulting him. Like saying that when Al-Imam Al-Albani said that we can travel, a woman can drive a car. When he said a woman can drive a car and the other scholars are saying something else, was he intending to insult them? He was making rod, he was correcting them, but he was not making ta'yir. And nobody will say, why are you correcting Sheikh Bumbaz? Why are you correcting Sheikh Abdul Musi? Who are you? Do you know that this thing is like this today? The same persons who will insult other people if they find that that sheikh somewhere has made a mistake, they will insult him. If their own sheikh, his errors are pointed out and corrected, they will start saying, I leave him now. Why are you correcting him now? You want to correct big doctor, big professor, big this, big that. You didn't remember that that person you are correcting is also big. Today, when they correct your own sheikh, you are worried. This is part of our problem, ikhwa. This is the problem we have. We are saying as-salafiyya, there is no tahazzub inside it. We are making at-tahazzub bil ulama. Salafiyya, there is no favoritism, no groupism around it. It is not a group, it is not a sect, it is not a society. But you are making it become like that. How? When our sheikh says it, it is correct. When our sheikh is wrong, leave it like that. When your sheikh says it, it is correct. When your sheikh makes a mistake, correct the mistake. The only thing is that if there is ta'yir, we are coming back to that from the statement of Ibn Rajab. If the one correcting makes ta'yir, we remove the ta'yir. We blame him for his ta'yir, but we receive the correction. He said, rahimahullah, وَلَمْ يَتْرُكْ ذَلِكَ أَحَدٌ مِّنْ أَهْلِ الْعِلْمِ. All the scholars have been making rod. Al-Imam Malik rahimahullah, he says, "Ma minna illa radda wa yuraddu alayh." There is no one of us except that he makes raddu and they give him raddu too. You know how many rudu that Al-Imam al-Layth ibn Sa'd gave to Malik ibn Anas? The same Malik and their friends. Malik ibn Anas and Al-Layth ibn Sa'd. Go and read it. Risala to Al-Imam Malik ila al-Layth. And the reply of Layth to Malik. I always say it, our younger Salafi brothers, you are not reading enough. You are not reading enough. Between Malik and Al-Layth ibn Sa'd, go back to it. The Rasail are available. In fact, these two works, they have sharh. The sharh of the Risala of Malik and the sharh of the Raddu of Al-Layth ibn Sa'd to Malik. And they were friends. They did not quarrel over the fact that my brother has a view A, I have a view B, and I'm telling my brother that that view that he has is a mistake. It does not make us become an enemy. And I'm not making ta'ir, I'm making nasiha. He sees it like nasiha too. In our own time, we have turned this nasiha to ta'ir. Ibn Rajab said, rahimahullah, lam yatruk dhalika ahadun min ahli al-ilm. There is no one amongst the people of knowledge who abandoned doing that. Doing what? An-Naseehah. If you are reading from the works of a scholar, he makes a mistake, you correct him. Say, this is a mistake. You correct him. Who is it who does not make mistake? Who? Who is it? Al-Imam Malik rahimahullah, Ibn Muflih, in Al-Adab al-Shar'iyyah, he quotes Al-Imam Malik rahimahullah. He says, وَمَنِ الَّذِي لَا يُخْطِئ. Who is it who does not make mistake? Who? Who does not make mistake? Who? Tell me the learned person who does not have a mistake. There is nobody. So if upon a mistake he makes, you direct ta'ir. Every mistake ta'ir. Every mistake ta'ir. Nobody will be left. So وَلَدَّعَ فِيهِ طَعْنًا عَلَى مَنْ رَدَّ عَلَيْهِ قَوْلَهُ. Those whose statements were refuted, the person refuting it, nobody said, why are you insulting Shaykh Lagbaja? With your right, say, no, I'm not insulting. I'm just saying that he made a mistake here, and that mistake should be corrected. That's all. Nobody was abusing those who were correcting those mistakes. And there is nobody who corrected somebody except that he also was corrected. Nobody corrected somebody except that you too will be corrected. As you like that person to accept your own correction, you also should not feel a problem when your errors are corrected. With nasiha, not with what? At-ta'ir. And there's a difference between nasiha and ta'ir. We are giving a lot of examples. So nobody saw it as insult. Wala dhamman. Nobody saw it as a blame. Wala naqsan. Nobody saw it as a fault, as a shortcoming. That, I made mistake yesterday and I was corrected. It does not mean that the person is not a learned person. Dr. So made mistake, he was corrected. It doesn't mean that he's not a learned person. These are part of our mistakes again. Shabab. Many of our younger brothers, when they correct a learned person, some of them begin to think that as if they and that learned person have become mates. Etidegbe? Etidegbe? He said something he heard. You know the view that is correct. That makes you the Etidegbe pẹ̀lú Dr. Kenika Professor. You are not mates. So. You are not mates. Shaykh Muhammad ibn Salih al-Uthaymin, he has a view that if you come to the Eid on the day of Eid, you must pray 2 rakats before Imam comes. That it is Sunnah. You have a view that no, it is wrong. You knew where he picked that view. You knew the error in it. Does that now make you and Shaykh Uthaymin etidegbe abi? Our younger brothers should add this to the manners that they should take. That you corrected a learned person over a matter does not now make you mate. It does not now make you mates. That in fact, even Dr. Abdur-Rashid, Dr. Abdul Manan, or Dr. Rashid, Dr. Abdul Manan, Dr. Professor, in fact, Shaykh, Ustaz, Abu Fulan. He made one mistake one day. I was the one who corrected him. Jazakallahu khaira. You are not mates because of that. It does not make you become mates. So Al-Imam Ibn Rajab said, وَلَمْ يَتْرُكْ ذَلِكَ أَحَدٌ مِّنْ أَهْلِ الْعِلْمِ وَلَا ادَّعَ فِيهِ طَعْنًا عَلَى مَا رَدَّ عَلَيْهِ قَوْلَهُ وَلَا ذَمًّا وَلَا نَقْصًا. Nobody saw it that the person who refuted the other person, why are you insulting Shaykh? Why are you abusing Shaykh? No, the scholars did not see it like that. They saw it as Naseehah. It is not ta'ir to say Shaykh Fulan made a mistake. This is the correct thing. In fact, when you are mentioning his mistake, you will even be saying Hafizahullah, Hafizahullah. Why? So as to calm down those people who may think that you want to raise your shoulders to him. Ta'addubama, you'll be saying it until you get to where you are going. So they know that the intention is not ta'ir. The intention is what? An-Naseehah. So you will mind your speech, you will mind your expressions, you will mind your gestures, you will mind everything as you are trying to correct him. You do it gradually until you arrive there. Because you are not mates. You are not. Even amongst the elders, amongst the scholars. I remember a statement from one of our teachers, Shaykh Mashhur Hassan Al-Salman, Hafizahullah. If you go to Al-Ajza'u Al-Hadithiyya by Shaykh Bakr ibn Abdullah Abu Zayd, or La Jadida fi Ahkam As-Salah by Shaykh Bakr ibn Abdullah Abu Zayd, he refuted many views of Al-Imam Al-Albani about Salat. So Shaykh Mashhur said he met Shaykh Bakr one day. He said, Shaykh, should I arrange for you so that you can meet our Shaykh Albani, Rahimahullah, so that all those things you are writing inside your book, you can talk to him face to face. Ikhwa, do you understand what Shaykh Mashhur is suggesting to Shaykh Bakr ibn Abdullah Abi Zayd? You are refuting him. He said he was wrong here, he was wrong here, he was wrong here, he was wrong here. Should I arrange that the two of you meet face to face? Shaykh Mashhur said, Hafizahullah, that Shaykh Bakr ibn Abdullah Abu Zayd said, Albani, إِذَا لَقِيتُهُ نَسِيتُ إِلْمِي. If I sit down with Albani, I will forget myself. That is haiba to Ahlul Ilm. So if Shaykh Bakr ibn Abdullah Abu Zayd, he does not think that, despite the fact that he is correcting Al-Imam Al-Albani rahimahullah, he does not think, how about you, Shab? Shab, Albani gan survive. What if Albani lenu? You watani. Albani gan. There are many examples. Shaykh Ismail Al-Ansari, I always said, our younger brothers, please, there are many books you need to read first before you start talking. I wanted to mention a case between Al-Imam Al-Albani and Shaykh Ismail Al-Ansari. I will leave it. I will come to between himself and Shaykh Hamoud At-Tuwajiri. All these, there are issues connecting them. Big affairs, big scholars. Issues connected them. Everybody will still respect himself and not think that he is the mate of the other one because he saw that one making a mistake. And Shaykh Ismail Al-Ansari with Al-Imam Al-Albani, they have a lot of issues. One of them Those days, we read these books like Mus'haf of Quran. I don't think our own younger brothers are reading things like this. They are just talking. I'm always saying it, brothers, you have so many things to read. Ask your teachers to guide you to books to read. They will be telling you, read this one, read this one, read this one, before you come up. When you are reading those books, you will not have time for the kind of arguments you are having that amongst yourself you cannot be brothers. Because those books, you understand so many things. You will know that the journey of knowledge is long. The journey of knowledge is wrong. Let us leave those matters. Ibn Rajab said, rahimahullah, I just looked at the time and I saw that those two matters, if we raise it, we will not even finish it before the time reaches. Ibn Rajab said, the scholars have been refuting themselves. وَلَمْ يَتْرُكْ ذَلِكَ أَحَدٌ مِّنْ أَهْلِ الْعِلْمِ. Nobody left that amongst the scholars. وَلَدَّعَ فِيهِ طَعْنًا عَلَى مَنْ رَدَّ عَلَيْهِ قَوْلَهُ. And it does not mean that the one who is correcting the other person is insulting him. وَلَا ذَمًّا. It does not mean that the one who is correcting the other one, he is dispraising him. وَلَا نَقْصًا. It does not mean that he is exposing his shortcomings. If that is the reason, then it is at-ta'yir. It is insult and abuse. But if the reason is that I just want to show that this is not wrong in the religion of Allah. In the religion of Allah, this one is what is correct. What is that? An-Naseehah. He now said, rahimahullah, Allahumma illa an yakuna al-musannifu mimman yufhishul kalam. Unless that person who is making raddu, mimman yufhishul kalam, when he was speaking badly. And the scholars have always given this example that I want to give now. Ibn Hazmin. All the scholars have been saying, hey, Ibn Hazmin, when he's giving raddu, hey, he will be asking these scholars, say, you don't have sense, you didn't look at it well, were your eyes closed? He used to say strong words. Say, illa an yakuna al-musannifu mimman yufhishul kalam. Except if the author was very, very bad in his statements. وَيُسِيءُ الْأَدَبِ. And he was not mannerly fil ibara, in his expressions. فَيُنْكَرُ عَلَيْهِ فَحَاشَتُهُ وَإِسَاءَتُهُ دُونَ أَصْلِ رَدِّهِ وَمُخَالَفَتِهِ. So what we are going to do is that when he is giving that correction, he was making isa'atul adab ko wa yufhishul kalam ko. He said what will be done is that yunkaru alayhi fahashatuhu. That his negative statements, yunkaru alayhi. Why are you speaking to scholars like that? Wa isa'atuhu. His bad manners will be corrected. Duna asli raddihi wa mukhalafatihi. But we will not say, why are you correcting so person? Do we understand? We are not saying, why are you correcting so person? Because the matter needs to be corrected. But we will say, don't use these bad words. Why? Because we are prohibited from using bad words when you are correcting. In our own Salafiyah, we are joining everything together. Both Isa'atul Adab wa Fuhshul Kalam. How can a Muslim refer to another Muslim as Agbako? I bet it is body now. Lagbaja Agbako ni. Ko gbapapa oni fitina ni olórí burúkú ni your brother ọmọ ìyá rẹ̀ ló ń sọ bẹ́ẹ̀ sí. So all of these are from the aspects of isa'atul adab wal fuhshu fil kalam. So Ibn Rajab said rahimahullah yunkaru alayhi fahashatuhu. This is bad mouth. We will tell him don't speak bad mouth like that. Wa isa'atuhu, will tell him don't be bad in your manners. Duna asli raddihi wa mukhalafati. But we will not blame him for correcting that mistake. We will not blame him for bringing another opinion. I know, Shaykh, there's a second opinion, sir. This is it. This is it. We will not blame him for that one. But we will blame him for bad speech. I think this is the problem that we face in our own times. Our brothers have not been able to properly separate between An-Naseehah and what? At-Ta'yir. Sometimes they are making complete ta'yir thinking that they are making nasiha. Or sometimes they mix up nasiha with what? At-ta'yir, requiring that we should blame them for the ta'yir and accept the nasiha. We should blame them for ta'yir and do what? Accept nasiha. We should not blame them for ta'yir and blame them for nasiha, because nasiha is what you have said is correct. This he wants to bada his brother, the other brother, okay, to bada me, no problem, I'm not bada, brother. So only video meji. So all these kinds of statements, ayyuhal ikhwa, let us leave them aside. We will be having very healthy intellectual exchange. What? An-Naseehah. Ibn Rajab said, rahimahullah, Allahumma illa an yakuna al-musannifu mimman yufhishul kalam. If the person correcting the mistakes, he used bad words, wa yusi'ul adab, and he was unmannerly, he showed bad manners, fil ibara, in his expressions, fayunkaru alayhi fahashatuhu, so his bad statements will be corrected, his negative expressions will be rejected, wa isa'atuhu, his bad manners will be rejected, duna asli raddihi wa mukhalafatihi. But we will not reject that basic issue that he was trying to correct us about. There are a lot of examples like this. I remember one time I was talking about Salatul Istikhara, and I was giving a view. That view was the view of Al-Imām Al-Albani rahimahullah. One of the eldest, one of our elder brothers, Hafizahullah, who heard it. He called me, he said, Abu Nāsir, some of the people complaining about this issue, if they knew that that is the view of Al-Imām Al-Albani, they would keep quiet. Repeating Salatul Istikhara. Some of the scholars hold the view that there is no evidence for it. There is an author from Abdullah ibn Zubayr that showed that he repeated al-istikhara. But that is from the mawkufat. It's mawkuf. Others among the scholars did not accept it. They say what shows from the sunnah of the Messenger alayhi salatu wasalam is that you want to take a decision about a matter, make 2 units of prayer, make this dua. The Prophet did not tell us to repeat it. And he also said that in that dua al-istikhara, when you make that dua, there is no place showing that you can repeat it inside. What it says is that if this thing is good for you, you continue. You will find it. You make it easy for you. So the one that is easy for you is your dua. You will not say the matter is not clear. Did Salatul Istikhara make us understand it has to be clear? You will just be yourself, continue. So there is no confusion after Istikhara. Don't forget, Istikhara itself should not be made unless you have a decision. And that is why it is that your decision you will mention in that Istikhara. Some people are confused, they are making istikhara. Don't make istikhara when you are confused. You make istikhara when you have decided upon the opinion. That's your opinion, you will now show it to Allah. If this thing that I have decided is good, make it happen. If this thing that I have decided is not good, don't make it happen. Now you don't have a decision, you are repeating istikhara. Which person's sunnah is that? That time, about 3 years ago, I started hearing people talking. And I have that thing. If you talk to me in a matter of knowledge, if you make this soul adab with me, and I have something that I can give you, I will just stop it. I will hold it back first. If I have additional info, I will keep it first. But if I see that this one, if I give him more evidence, if I give him more explanation, he will take it, I will give him. So people started saying so many things. That from that elderly one amongst our brothers, I said, Nāsir, don't mind them. Don't mind them, leave the matter. So it's a very common thing. One mas'ala, everybody wants to say something. Hey, I saw one answer. I saw one answer. Why not send that answer to him and hear his comment first? And when you hear his comment, say, that is what he believes. He will now tell you. Some even said that no scholar hold it. Say, no scholar hold what? You will say you don't know those amongst the scholars who have that opinion. You don't know. So, ikhwan, the lesson in all of this is that all of us, this lesson is not for brothers alone, it's for all of us, including myself. If I want to correct somebody, I should do Naseehah and not what? At-Tibyān. I should not also mix An-Naseehah with what? At-Tibyān. I always say these things. 2 brothers are fighting. One of them is saying, fear Allah, and they are still fighting. Somebody comes and say, why are you saying fear Allah when they are still fighting? Say, oh, if they are fighting, what should he say? So if we are all guilty of something, and some of us are saying, brothers, let's not forget, there is something we should be doing. It doesn't mean that I am completely free too. I'm not saying this because I'm completely free. I am saying it so that I will get more easy. You can find from my statement, I might have started with Naseehah and I end up with Ta'ir. I'm a human being like you. But I'm saying that that action is wrong. I will note it. You too is wrong. Note it too. All of us should note it about our da'wah. So it's not Naseehah. One person say Naseehah la one she, our yokun she Ta'ir. We are all in this together. But when we remind ourselves, everybody will take lessons. Everybody will learn. Everybody will be careful when he is making to his brothers. I hope that the original aim behind this will be understood. Inna nafsa la ammaratun bisu'i illa ma rahima rabbi. So I'm not saying that, oh, me, you can't see me make it. No, it's possible. We've mentioned very eminent scholars. Al-Imam Al-Albani rahimahullah, when he was making radd on Shaykh Ismail Al-Ansari regarding the mas'ala of Adhab al-Muhallak, he mentioned some of that statement in the Muqaddimah of Adab al-Zifaf, the new edition. Adab al-Zifaf has editions. It was the old editions we read in 90s. 98, 99, Adab Zifaf, old edition. That's the one that I still have till today. But there are new editions now. So in the Muqaddimah of the new editions of Adab Zifaf, and Imam Al-Albani was refuting Shaykh Ismail Al-Ansari. He started talking about knowledge. Wallahi, later afar, his statement was hot. You'll be wondering, he's talking to Ismail Al-Ansari and Shaykh Al-Albani bye. Hey! Ọ̀rọ̀ tó lé ní Shaykh bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí sọ. So we are all human beings. Sometimes you start soft, you'll be making nasiha. Before you end the statement, you get annoyed. Your control will lose. You just enter into At-Tibyān. But like Ibn Rajab said, rahimahullah, we are going to accept the Naseehah. We are going to leave out the At-Tibyān. I hope that it is clear, inshallah. If we have one or two questions because of time. One or two. Is it allowed for one man to act as a mahram for 3 women or more? One man can act as a mahram for 20 women. Maybe that man has 4 wives. He has 10 children. How many are they? 14. He's the only mahram. It's allowed. And amongst his 10 children, he has another 6 children who are grandchildren to him. So there are 20 women. He alone is the mahram of all of them. They can go to Hajj like that. It's allowed. Because that hadith will be true for each of those 20 women. Don't go to Hajj except you have your mahram. It's true. She has mahram. Every woman from women 1 to women 20, they will have their mahram. So it's allowed. I had a dream. It was about some of the people of knowledge teaching me in the toilet. Is there any explanation for this? Also, I recognize some of them as being my friends. When you teach or you are teaching in your dream, it's a sense of goodness. It means you pay attention to your religion. But maybe there are some things in that your gathering of learning. Maybe in that gathering, you are doing something that is haram. Watch that your gathering. That gathering has something that is haram. You are learning from those people. Allahu Akbar. Is it good to feed fish with dead rams and chicken? It appears to me that they don't have a ruling. Do fish have a ruling not to eat dead meat? Fish. They don't have any ruling. They are not mukallafun. Whether fish can eat dead meat. Can fish eat dead meat? They are not under Sharia. So don't ask whether they can eat dead meat or not. What do we understand? Allahu Akbar. Especially fishes. Because Allah didn't send you what fish ate. He just told you to eat fish. So don't start asking. In the deep ocean where it is, who told you you did not eat a dead body? Inú omi agbalu omi tí ẹja wà yẹn. Ta ló sọ fún ẹ pé kò jẹ òkú? Kò jẹ òkú ẹja kan. When sharks died and whales died, go and look at a documentary how whales die when they want to die. And when they die, they are eaten up by smaller fishes. You came, you packed the fish. Say, mo pa ẹja lónìí. Ẹja yẹn ṣẹ̀ṣẹ̀ jókòó ẹja kan tán ni. So you start asking, Shaykh, ẹjọ́, tẹ́ja bá jẹja, ṣá lè jẹja yẹn. So just say they are not under taklif. They are not under legal responsibility. If a person is sick, what dua do you make? You make Falak and Nas. Don't take Falak and Nas lightly. Or Suratul Fatiha. People are not making cure with Suratul Fatiha. Wallahi, Suratul Fatiha has a lot of benefit. Suratul Fatiha, you read it for your illness, Bismillah, Allah will provide you sound health. This question is not clear to me. I think we can stop here, Ikhwa. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik. ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.